Hey guys, welcome to Fearless Cooking. So my son Ryan is going to join us today. We're doing Fat Head Bagels, and Ryan and I did this recipe together a long time ago, and I thought that we would kind of revisit it. So what I'm doing this time is like I've done it before, where I've used goat's milk cheese, I've used sheep's milk cheese. Today it's kind of a combination. So what I've got is I've got 6 ounces of Dubliner cheese, which is the cheese that the guys with Kerrygold make. And then I've just got regular, this is just goat's milk cheese. This is 2 ounces, and that's 6 ounces. So we got 8 ounces of cheese. We could have like graded this up and put it into cups,
right.
But this is one I just went ahead and measured it out. So if you're using the volume on this thing, it's 1.5 cups of mozzarella.
Right.
Well, I didn't have mozzarella, so I just decided to use
called an audible.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to experiment with it and see how it turns out. This is a cup. Let's see, how much is this? This is 1.25. Yeah, 1.25 cups of almond flour, and then this is 2 tablespoons of whey protein, and then this is 1.5 teaspoons of baking soda, and this is 1 egg. I don't have any salt called out for in this because the goat's milk and the cheese typically has some level of salt in it. So this would be just one that you'd adjust the salt to your taste.
Right. When we have this, the seasoning that goes on in the end as well, that has sort of a salty flavor as well.
Well, actually, and this one is a no salt. We'll turn it where they can see the label. Okay, but we'll also sprinkle some salt on the bagels whenever we're going to finish them.
Very good.
Okay. All right. So let's do this. The first thing we're going to do is melt the cheese. So we're going to put the 2 cheeses together, and then we're going to put it in the microwave you want to just put this in the microwave for a minute?
Yeah.
Would you do that?
I'm going to just stir again after this, right?
Yeah. And I think I've got something over here to stir. Yeah, here's something to stir it with.
I think that's, so we do a minute, and then we...
Yeah, about another 30
30
seconds or
seconds.
20 seconds. Yeah. You can use that to stir it with. And then...
I thought this was some kind of crazy knife.
Yeah, it is. And then we'll use the Cuisinart to like mix everything up.
Right.
And like you said, you did it once by hand. I've never done that before.
So that makes it a lot easier. You can do it by hand. It's just the bagels won't be as pliable when you're putting them together. So like with this, you'll see when we get to it, it'll be very doughy, just like most dough that you've seen before. This, because you're using cheese and it's not like, I'm assuming it's using the cheese, it's a little bit harder. And so whenever you're trying to sort of stretch it out, it's a bit more of a process, but every time I've ever done it, I've done it without the Cuisinart, so it's doable if you don't have it. I would recommend using that though.
Okay, all right, cool. What do we got, 10 seconds? And the thing is, you're wanting the cheese like nice and soft, but you don't want it like to where that it's like boiling.
Right,
and then we're going to add we'll add the egg in as it kind of cools off. We don't want to cook the egg in there.
Okay, so hand me the thing to stir.
Okay.
So stir and then hit it 30 seconds again?
Well, let's just see how like, if it's all completely mixed up.
It kind of is.
Okay.
Let's see.
I think we're going to be good.
Let's see. I'm trying to remember if this is what it looks like.
This is completely soft.
Yeah, we don't want it to get rubbery or burn it.
Yeah. All right, cool.
It smells good.
All right. So then what we're going to do is we'll just put it in the food processor.
Okay.
And then we're going to
Make sure
add
you get everything incorporated.
Yeah.
Fold it in real fast. That smells incredible.
All right. Yeah, see, I like these things better than I do regular bagels.
So drop this in there.
Yep.
Just comes right out.
Cool. Yeah, it kind of
Looks
looks
like a lot cleaner than I would have expected it to come out.
I know.
I guess the trick is get it while it's still melty and hot. All right,
All right, let's just stick that in the sink. All right. Let's see how hot that is. Yeah, it's not so, I don't have to worry about it cooking the egg. stick, so I'll put the egg in with this. Put the top. Oops.
When I was in college, this is a recipe that I had up on my fridge because it was an easy thing to do. And I grew up eating sandwiches, and when I tried to do the paleo or keto thing, a little harder because you can't snack or make sandwiches and whatnot. So this was something that I did, a handful of times in college that was kind of a lifesaver.
All right, so I'm just putting the egg in with it, and now I'm going to add pick this off, add the flour. And I'll put all the dry ingredients in. So that's the flour. This is the baking soda. Oops. Well, we missed a little bit of it. Let's see how much that is. This cabinet's clean. There we go. And then the
whey.
Yeah. And if you don't use the whey, I think what you do is you add another quarter of a cup of almond flour.
Yeah.
All right. So. It should kind of turn it into a ball.
Right. It's so much easier when you do it without this, and you do that exact same process, but you knead it.
Okay.
You do it in a bowl, kind of mix it around a little bit, and then you get it out on a board, and you actually have to knead it like you're doing, just like you're making bread. And it takes a little bit.
Okay, why don't you hit the oven for, what is it, 400? I think it is. Let's see.
400?
I think so. I never put, on this particular recipe, I did not put a temperature, but I think it's 400 degrees. It's only like 12 minutes.
Right.
All right, so I think we're good on this. I'm going to pull this.
How's it looking?
Looks good. Yeah, it feels just like it always does, sticky as hell.
Yeah.
So what I learned on this the first time was that if you rub your hands down with coconut oil, it doesn't stick to your fingers as much.
Yeah.
So
that is one of the few perks of not doing it with the Cuisinart. If you do it the hand way, it doesn't get crazy sticky.
Huh. That's interesting. All right. So what you do with this is that you put it in Saran wrap and then stick it in the freezer while the oven is coming up to temp. So we'll do that.
It's funny the little parts of this recipe that I don't remember.
Man, that's why even when I make it a bunch of times, I still go ahead and have that thing printed off.
Right.
Now if I'm doing it on a real regular basis, I get where I remember it.
Right.
But when I do it a couple of times a year, it's like, okay, wait a minute, what was that other piece?
Right. Especially if you're baking. If you're baking, it's more of a science, so you're trying to make sure you have everything together. So
yeah, ratios are important.
No shame in a recipe.
Yeah. All right.
In fact, I'm pretty sure the entire time I did it, I literally had it magneted up to my fridge. And that recipe, the paper got very dirty after some time.
Well, it's funny you say that. When I look at recipes that I like, they're ones that I can tell because there's stains all over.
Right. Yeah.
Because it means I've made them a bunch of times. And a lot of times, a recipe, I'll start off with it like doing it right by the ingredients. Right. But one of the things that I figured out with doing paleo stuff is that I'll find a recipe that I like.
Right.
And then it's like, okay, I'm not going to use regular flour. I'll use cassava flour. Or if it's not something that really needs to rise, I might try almond flour. But
and I don't bake a lot, but I'm trying to think. I want to say this might be the only thing in college that I made from a recipe.
Yeah.
Like the entire time, everything else is just chicken thighs and frozen vegetables.
Well, and this is so I make this. I make buckwheat pancakes, and I make those plantain pancakes.
Right.
And that's the only thing I ever bake, right?
Well, and do you do those from recipe, or at this point, it's kind of like
So I will, if it's been a long time since I've done it, I'll go back and look again at the recipe just to go. Okay.
But is that more looking for like, okay, I gotta hit the baking soda right because I know that's gonna make it rise.
Yeah.
Like, making sure there's little important pieces, like, okay, how many like, and then, you know, the flavor stuff you can change. Like for example with this one, I mean, it's mozzarella cheese. Every time I've done it was with mozzarella cheese, but we just were able to make a substitution. And that's more of a flavor thing than.
Well, it's also it's like food tolerance stuff, right? So like, you know, if I was making this where that I knew Jude was going to be eating them, then I wouldn't use the Kerrygold. I'd use like some kind of a sheep's milk cheese, right? I'm gonna, you know, you're gonna take most of these back, so you know you can handle whatever, you know, you can handle cow's milk, right?
Yeah, I can handle it real well.
Yeah. So it's like, you know, that's part of my adjustment on recipes. If I'm doing like plantain pancakes, I've kind of got those memorized. But with the buckwheat, every time I do it, I have to go back and look because it's, you know, it's obviously a bunch of different ratios.
Right. What even is buckwheat?
So buckwheat is like a seed. Okay. So it's not really a grain. Okay. I don't, like, I'm going to start keto like probably January 2nd or 3rd, and I'm going to do a hard keto all the way through January.
Gotcha.
So I won't make pancakes during that month. Okay, because it's more carbs than what I want to eat.
So even the buckwheat ones you wouldn't do.
Well, but I would do them when I'm doing paleo, right? So it's like I kind of bounce in between just like kind of a tight paleo or primal because I do cheese.
So when you do that though, because I'm like, I've done the paleo. I mean, I did paleo for 2 months. It was incredible. Lost the 40 pounds. I mean, it was fantastic, and it wasn't that difficult. But for some reason, keto, it's like keto seems it's not like crazy hard or anything. But what are the stipulation? What is the difference between paleo and keto? They seem relatively similar.
There's so many different ways you can do it, right? The way that I do keto is I prioritize protein, right? I don't throw tons of fat into it, okay? But because you're dropping your carb level down to anywhere from 25 net, so you'll hear people talk about keto. They'll go net. They'll talk about net carbs and total carbs, right? The total carbs are how many grams of carbs in the particular food, right? Net carbs is you take the total number and you subtract out the fiber, okay? Because your body doesn't absorb the fiber. So they're saying, all right, this is what has like a.
So fiber, they're saying that's not like bad carbs.
Yeah, it's because all it is it just gets passed through your system. Okay. So with most keto, you're looking for net carbs somewhere between 25 to maybe 40. Okay. If you're doing a lot of like weightlifting or sprints or things that you can end up using up, or if you're doing like longer forms of cardio, right? You'll burn up some carbs. Okay. So you can get away with a few more in your diet. Okay. But for me, what I find is I get to where I don't even have to measure. If I just do meat and vegetables, right? Then I don't. And when I say vegetables, I mean like primarily green stuff. I can eat like some like zucchini, but I'm not eating sweet potatoes. I'm not.
Oh, you don't?
No, not when I'm doing keto.
Okay.
So I'll do like sautéed mushrooms. I'll do.
Love those.
Yeah, I'll do. You know, kale, green beans.
See, I thought I was doing keto the other day, and I was doing broccoli and sweet potatoes.
Okay, so here's the thing with sweet potatoes. If you put like a piece of a sweet potato, like a small piece.
So I had I think 2 sweet potatoes that I chopped up into like little slices like that, and I used it as like split into meal prep for like 4 or 5 days.
So it depends on what your other meals were like. Okay. It
probably not keto.
Yeah. Well.
At least my lunches, I was doing, I had rice some, which is
so rice will blow you up because it doesn't take much rice at all.
So let me ask you this though. So with keto, like I understand that it's very low to no carbs and whatnot. I know getting into ketosis is the hardest thing. Once you're in ketosis, if I go have that Chipotle meal with the rice and whatnot, and I get the beans, and it's, it by itself probably hits more than the daily carb.
Oh, easy. I mean, like in a few bites.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
But so then if I'm doing that and I'm trying to get in ketosis, first question, how far out of whack did I throw myself from doing that? And then second follow-up question, if you did it while you're in ketosis, you do that, you eat the crazy Chipotle meal and whatnot, are you just like, man, I got to start all over, or what?
No,
kind of fill me in.
So whenever you're moving from somebody that burns primarily carbs to somebody that is burning like body fat and makes ketones,
right?
You're trying to build some new metabolic machinery, right? So it's like you get mitochondria that get good at doing the keto piece. Okay. After you've done it for a couple of months, you kind of have that machinery built. So now you can kind of flip in and out. You can be in ketosis for a few days. You can have a higher carb meal that pushes you out of it. Then all you're doing is that, like, okay, the next meal you eat, a keto appropriate meal, and you're going to be back in ketosis. I don't measure ketone. I don't track them obsessively.
Right.
If I had been, like, say I've come back from vacation,
right?
Or during the holidays where I'm eating a lot more carbs than normal. Like we fixed tamales.
Right.
Okay.
Very
so
good.
yeah. So the tamales, having those several days, I'm gonna have to have a few meals before I'm gonna be back in ketosis.
Okay.
And I can tell because all of a sudden the weight just starts falling off.
So then what about, like, for me? So if I was, not saying I am yet, but if I commit to, like, all right, I'm doing this keto thing, then if I did that meal where it's like, oh man, because like I remember when I did paleo, the first like 2 weeks were really difficult. After that, it wasn't that hard. But I do remember within that first 2 weeks, there was one time I just completely forgot that I was doing paleo. Yeah. And I started eating something, and I remember being so frustrated. It was one of the crappy little like cheese pizza stick things at the freaking the cafeteria at Bowie for my high school. It was not that good at all. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, I just wasted a cheat, because my first cheat meal, I was gonna wait till I had like 2 weeks or something to cheat, and I cheated on these horrible little rubbery sticks. Yeah. I remember remembering, okay, this sucks. So with keto, if you just forget and you have that, cheat meal or whatnot, or you do decide to have that cheat meal, first of all, how far behind are you pushing yourself?
First of all, there is no such thing as a cheat meal. Food doesn't cheat on you, right? So it's like it depends on what you're trying to accomplish. Okay, if you're somebody that's doing ketosis to kind of give yourself some metabolic flexibility, then it's like, all right, that's not an optimal meal. The next meal you eat, it's like if. I don't like to see people get obsessed with food, but I want people to look at what's the nutritional density of what they're eating, right? If you're eating something, it's calories that you're taking in, so it's
energy for your body.
Yeah, but it's like it's either crap food, or in other words, if it's like real low quality, just kind of garbage stuff, right? It's like, all right, it fueled you, but it didn't really nourish you. Okay, so if you have a like less than great meal, okay, the next meal you're gonna you get a choice. You're gonna go, okay, yeah, I want to get kind of back on track, right? If you've been in ketosis for a while, you'll bounce right back in, right? If it's been, if you're just starting out, it just takes you a little bit longer. Okay. All right, so let me pull them.
So we've hit the 400 degrees.
Yeah, we've hit the 400 degrees. We're gonna put the we're gonna
build our bagels.
We're gonna build our bagels. I'm gonna move this out of the way. Yeah, it's right here.
So that's right there.
Yeah, here we go. No,
it's in the clear one.
Thank you. No.
Is it not?
No, where the hell did we put it? I thought it was in here. Oh, here it is. I was in such a make sure to clear up the workspace that I got rid of some of the ingredients. So I just like to just rub it on my. So just grab.
Do you want to open this first? And
yeah.
Let me get us prepared so we're not oil and everything.
That doesn't matter. But.
So it's funny. I was kind of thinking when you were explaining the ketosis thing
Mm-hmm.
about how like it's your body gets the mechanics. It's kind of like when we were bouldering yesterday. If you're trying to slackline or anything, you don't have the muscles yet that the people do. It's kind of the same thing, building that muscle.
You're building metabolic muscle.
Okay. All right. So how many are we trying to make with a batch like this?
So we're gonna make 6.
6. Okay.
So
I'll let you do the first one. And I'll follow along with
All
the
right.
size because
yeah,
it's been a
minute.
couple years since I've done this, but it's
so
one of those.
what I do is I just like roll them like this.
How much did you get something about this size?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then just I'm gonna move that where you can see. And then I just put it right there.
How much of these? Like, once again, it's been a little bit since I made it. How much is it going to expand in the
Quite a
oven?
bit. So you want to leave a little, because we'll put 6 on here spread out.
You want it thicker than that though? That looks kind of like a sad little Cheerio.
Yeah, but I mean, a little bit more on the next one.
You want me to just add into this one?
Nah.
Okay. Well, if we have a little left over, then maybe we'll.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
It's just bizarre that this is cheese.
I know. What's bizarre is that I've never been like a huge bagel fan. I mean, they're okay, but it's like it was not something that I was like, man, I love these things. So as soon as I started making these, I'm like, okay, I love these things.
So yeah, this is the part that when you do it without the Cuisinart, this takes a lot more. Cause see, this is very like it's mushy, it's easy to do.
With that.
Well, I'll put that one in this one.
Okay.
Yeah, you redo that one. So with this, it's like mushy, it's pliable, it's easy to move. If you do it where you just do it by hand, this is a lot harder. It's more like Play-Doh.
Yeah.
And then like you're trying, when you're doing it like this, you're working to try and, make sure they don't break and trying to kind of, it's not as easy. Granted, they still come out looking relatively the same. It's tasty, it works. You're just going to have to work for it a little more. It's more like baking, well, the way I see baking.
Yeah.
With a little bit more of a work involved.
Well,
But once again, like I said, it still comes out with the same thing, and you actually feel a little bit more like you're baking,
Yeah.
You're needing some what's it called? Dough, I guess.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna put this. This is this Costco, like, what is this? It's like a organic seasoning. Yeah.
It's life-saving seasoning.
It is.
You can put it on pretty much anything, and I do put it on pretty much anything.
Yeah, I know. Me too. I go through this stuff on a pretty regular basis. All right, I'm gonna hit it with. I think I have some.
There's some salt right there.
I know, but I'm gonna see. I think I have some.
There's kosher salt, pink
Yeah.
salt.
This is like some flake salt, like
A little bit of
yeah,
gourmet salt.
Yeah, this is like Maldon. It's it's like the flakes. I need to get some more of it.
It's wild that these are almost done.
I know. Yeah, it takes 12 minutes.
There's a lot of different ways to eat these too. You can breakfast. You can make the sandwiches, like I said before. Because I'm not big on just bagels.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is anybody?
Hey Siri, set a timer for 12 minutes.
Your timer is set for
Thank
12
you.
minutes.
I love that thing.
I know. It's great. All right, so get this out of the way.
Okay.
And then, yeah, so, with this, it's like I'll have, like maybe I'll do eggs or, it's like Jude and I have had those with, pork chops.
Right.
I mean, it's just, because you do, I think when you do paleo or keto or whatever, there's times that you miss foods that you used to, enjoy.
Right.
And it's like, what I was telling somebody the other day, we were at a Christmas party, and there was lots of desserts there, and I had decided, like, I did a real tight keto diet between Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Right.
I lost all the weight I gained over Thanksgiving. I actually lost down to where I had been in like the spring.
Right.
So I was going, okay, you know what? I know I'm going to gain weight because part of what happens is when you go keto, okay, you get rid of a lot of water weight.
Right.
Okay, that's kind of the first weight you lose, right? Because it's like your body does this thing where it's like for the amount of glycogen that you have, it stores water to like accompany it.
So I just forgot that we had the timer already.
Yeah. Okay. And so
we forget.
so whenever you go keto, you get rid of all that extra water weight. So that's kind of what you lose in the beginning.
Right.
Then you start losing body fat.
Okay.
Right. So I knew as soon as I went from keto to like eating carbs around Christmas that I was going to gain all the water weight back, and I might gain a pound or two of like body fat. Right. So it's like I will, I'll be tight with this. I'll go like back into tight ketosis.
Right.
At the end of that, it's like I'll eat kind of whatever food I want, right? But at this Christmas party, I was telling this person, it's like I don't say I'll never have a bowl of ice cream again.
Right.
It's this, if I'm going to eat ice cream, I want it to be really good ice cream.
Right. That's fair. That's fair.
I mean,
you're not going to go have McDonald's if you want a burger. You're going to go have Storms and like Pastas or something.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Yeah.
And it's like, anytime we go there, if I get a burger on a bun, I'll have 2 bites of the burger with the bun, and then I'm like, I'm done with the bun, and I ditch the bun and eat the burger.
I disagree, but
yeah, but it's like the longer you do it, the less that stuff does for you.
So I definitely, when I did, and paleo and keto are slightly different, but I mean, when I did the paleo pretty strictly for 2 months, I definitely still had so after, I think for me it's always been about 2 weeks. After I get past that 2-week hump, the cravings go away. You're used to how you eat now. You're just like, it's about 14 days, and they say it takes like 16 days to make a habit, so it's like relatively, you're there. But I still had I still wanted it. If I saw a burger, I was like, that looks good.
Okay.
And I think that, I mean, granted, that was 2 months. You've been doing this kind of lifestyle for what, almost a decade now or something like that? I mean, if not longer.
Yeah, I mean, a long time.
Yeah. So I guess so those cravings, it would make sense for them to be kind of completely gone. Plus, I still agree with the you want it to be really good, but I still if it's really good, I'm gonna eat that whole burger. You know what I'm saying?
I'm trying to think the last time. I think it was
probably my Pastas, right?
Yeah, but I remember it's like I got about halfway in going, man, this is just so carby, right?
Well, that is one thing. Your taste buds do change. For me, it was the sweets. Like I remember, before I ever did paleo, there was I liked a lot of sweet stuff, and not like crazy. Like I was never super into sweets, but I liked milk chocolate a lot. I wasn't a big fan of dark chocolate.
Yeah.
Never once I ate a fruit and think that was too sweet.
Yeah.
And then you do paleo for a little while, and the other one is soda. You get to where you drink a soda and you're just like, wow, that is just syrupy, sugary, just it tastes gross.
Yeah.
And then that I don't know if that was within 2 weeks or after I did the whole 2 month thing, because it was a little while back. But I definitely remember the big one was dark chocolate. Dark chocolate started tasting almost more like milk chocolate, and milk chocolate started tasting. It depending on the quality of the milk chocolate, it started to get to where it was almost nauseating.
Yeah.
Which is terrifying.
The last time, so Jude and I went to In-N-Out Burger, right? And In-N-Out Burger to me is it's one of those iconic things, right? Every time I have an In-N-Out Burger T-shirt, that anytime I wear it, people are always going, "Oh, I love that place," right?
Yeah.
So Jude and I stopped at that place. I had a burger, I had sweet potato fries, and I had a chocolate milkshake because I used to love their chocolate milkshake. I felt sick after I ate it because there was just I ate the whole thing of French fries.
Right.
Normally, if I'm going to have something like that, I'm going to have a few of them. It's almost kind of like a condiment or something. It's not part of the meal.
You look at it almost like tapas, where you're trying a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was the milkshake that sent me over.
It always is.
Yeah.
It always is.
And I got home and I just remember I just basically laid on the couch.
Right. Real fast. Y'all can't smell this at home, but it's starting to smell fantastic.
Yeah. It will. Jude
I don't know why I stopped making these for so long.
Jude will harass me about my dirty towel, so I'll flip that over.
There you go.
All right. Yeah, you know, it's like all it boils down to is you just. In fact, I'll clean this up while we're talking.
Right.
Is that all you have to do is just it's taking care of the food processor. I mean that's really the only
food processor and the bowls. If you hit the one thing I would recommend is when you're doing it and you're cooking it, get the cheese done, like the bowl. Do that immediately afterwards.
Yeah.
Just like pause your cooking for a second. Because the cheese, while it's hot, it'll come off real easy. As soon as it kind of dries, it's a little bit more of one of those where it takes a little bit of elbow grease to get it off.
Yeah.
That's kind of my cooking philosophy in general. I try and clean as I cook.
Yep.
With time permitting, just because the longer things sit there, the more it becomes a pain. If you clean stuff while it's still hot, it almost always takes little to no effort. A lot of times water and, a quick little thing with the wand will help.
Well, that's, it's funny. I was reading, I don't remember who the author was, but they were talking about they'd spent some time with Thomas Keller, the chef.
Okay.
And
I'm not aware.
So he's a guy that did, he owns the French Laundry and
the one that Ethan's like Ethan's
yeah,
a big fan of?
Yeah. So what they say about Keller is that, even though he owns this kind of empire of restaurants, he still a lot of times will be in the kitchen. And it's like when he cooks, he's not like relegating everything to somebody else to clean up after him.
Right.
That he keeps his workstation just like kind of spotless, and it's like he's always kind of cleaning as he goes, just because he likes that order.
Well, for me, it's not as much the order. The order definitely helps, but for me, it's the idea of that part of what is frustrating to me about cooking is that you cook, and then afterwards, you've done this great thing, and then you look in your kitchen, and it looks like a tornado happened. And you're just like, dude, not wanting to clean that right now.
Yeah.
And then, in the past, especially in college, you don't, and you leave it there, and then it gets disgusting, and that's just not something I was wanting to do. If I clean while I cook, then by the time I'm done, cooking, there might be a handful, like, okay, if I'm cooking something in a skillet, I still got to cook the skillet.
Yeah.
But usually your food is, if you're cooking a chicken thigh, you take it off the skillet, it's still cooking. Right? So you can set that to the side, hit the skillet real fast.
Yeah.
And then I cook with a cast iron skillet a lot. So if I'm doing that, then I get that, scrubbed off, and then I have it sitting there on the stove top with the thing going so it can dry it out.
Right.
And then by the time I'm done cooking, it's ready for me to oil it up, and then I'm good to go. So
That's smart.
Which is it makes it to where that when I'm done cooking, I gotta clean my plate, and that's about it.
Yeah.
And like the other thing, I used to do this a lot. I don't do it as much now, but in college, I would always, if there was gonna be significant stuff to clean afterwards, I would just put the oven on warm and put my food in there and just clean, because it's not as much while you're going, because sometimes there's just a handful of things that you can't get to, because if you're cooking 2 things at once or something, you just don't have time to clean in between. But I always clean it while it's hot.
Well, no, and that's smart, and it's like, it's also, then you're enjoying the meal, and you're not going, oh crap, when I get done with this, I've got to do all this other stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Plus, there's nothing more frustrating than, trying to clean something off, like especially melted cheese or something like that just sticks to a bowl. So, in other words, all of that to say, when you're cooking it, I would recommend you get the cheese, you put it in the Cuisinart. You probably get the dough ready, right? Well, in that little period while you've got the dough in the freezer and you're getting your oven up, I would probably use that time to clean up a few of the items.
All right, so it says there's 2 minutes left. I wanted to see because it's smelling great.
Oh yeah, they're looking good. Oh, that one over there is looking very, very.
All right, so we'll give it another minute. This one may be an 11-minute process.
So is this kind of like, I don't remember, is it like how, how like if you're cooking like a normal like bagel or bread or cake or something like that, or pancakes? Not pancakes. But some kind of cake, you do the toothpick test?
Yeah.
This works for that too? Okay.
You can do that too. Yeah, because what you're just trying to see is, does it come out clean? Okay, so which just means it's cooked all the way through.
Right.
Yeah.
Man, I'm excited.
I know. Yeah, it's like, who is it? I think it's Sanji, what's her name? Nosrat. Sami Nosrat talks about how that when you cook, you use all your senses. So it's like, even though I opened it up, I could smell already before I opened it. All right, that thing's smelling pretty done. Right?
Yeah, you can smell all those spices a lot. And that's the other thing. So if you don't use this, are there any other things you've put on before?
So I've done like sesame seeds. I've done poppy seeds.
Okay.
I've done.
You know, I'm curious. It might be too much cheese, but I always like the cheese, like the Asiago cheese baked bagel.
Yeah.
You know, once again, I don't know, and that'd be like too much cheese because the bagel is made primarily of cheese.
Yeah.
You put a little cheese. I'm a big cheese guy.
Yeah.
So.
You know, and topping it, it's like I'll top them sometimes with like prosciutto, or just basically I'm eating it with prosciutto.
I'll do usually my go-tos were if it was in college and I didn't have access to prosciutto because it was a little bit a little bit more expensive. I would do I'd hit it with cream cheese and then I'd have bacon. Yeah. And I would put strips of bacon around it. Yeah. And then I'd get avocado and put it on that. Yeah. And but I would toast it before I put the avocado, and then I put that on there. And that's a pretty bomb bagel.
Okay. Yeah. You know, I want to try and see what this dough would, because like I've seen people talk about using this dough for pizzas.
I think that would do real well for pizza. I'm curious how it would look for a sandwich.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, see,
I've seen the cloud bread stuff, and that looks pretty solid for sandwiches.
Yeah.
It's very puffy and...
Oh, yeah, because this is...
Oh, those look good.
Yeah, so here's what it looks like. They're all nice and browned, and, you know, actually you can just kind of tell by touching it that they're done.
Oh, and I remember that smell.
All right, so I'm going to put these over here to the side. So, guys, you know, enjoy cooking them. So it's just I'll post a recipe. And you have a great New Year's Eve, and look forward to seeing you guys. We'll be starting back kind of on the live stuff about the second week in January. So I'm going to try to look at different recipes to kind of cover kind of a cooking arc. So like we'll do some sautés, we'll do some braises, some roast. But anything that you want to see us cover the first part of the year? What's your any request?
Not off the top of my head. Put me on the spot like this. I mean, I don't know that I've ever braised anything.
Okay, all right.
Maybe I have this thing. I don't even really know what braise is.
So basically, braising is just cooking typically a protein. You can also braise vegetables in a liquid, but you're not completely submerging them.
So yeah, I don't really do that. And so yeah, I'm excited to braise something.
All right, cool. Well, we'll do that. Well, guys, thanks for joining us, and look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.